Country of origin is becoming a more closely watched issue for businesses importing into the United States. On August 13th, the White House published a report examining what it describes as illegal transshipment of China-linked goods through third countries to avoid U.S. tariffs. The report identifies around 40 economies where the administration says transshipment risk may be present. But there is an important distinction. The report itself does not create a new tariff or change the existing country of origin rules. For importers, its significance is the attention it places on origin declarations, supply chains, and customs documentation. Transshipment is not automatically illegal. Goods can legitimately move through another country for commercial or logistical reasons. The compliance issue arises when goods are routed through another jurisdiction and the transaction or processing is used to make the goods appear to have a different origin than they actually have. The White House report discusses practices including relabelling, repackaging, re-invoicing, minor processing, and false country of origin claims. For importers, that means the supply chain story matters. Where were the components produced? Where did manufacturing take place? What processing happened in the intermediate country? And what evidence supports the origin declared to U.S. Customs? One point deserves particular attention. The country a shipment comes from is not necessarily the country of origin. U.S. Customs and Border Protection applies country of origin principles that can involve substantial transformation. CBP rulings explain that substantial transformation generally looks at whether processing results in a new article with a different name, character, or use. CBP also considers the circumstances of the processing on a case-by-case basis. That means simply moving a product to another country, changing packaging, or performing limited processing does not automatically establish a new country of origin. The actual manufacturing and processing history needs to be understood. For businesses with multi-country supply chains, there are several areas worth reviewing. Start with the product's manufacturing history. Identify where the major components originate and what happens to them at each stage. Then review the supplier documentation supporting the declared origin. That could include manufacturing records, bills of materials, production information, and other evidence relevant to the origin determination. Next, look at the commercial documentation. Country of origin information should be consistent across the documents used in the transaction. And finally, review your record retention procedures. If Customs asks how an origin determination was reached, the business should be able to support the declaration with records rather than reconstructing the supply chain after the question arrives. These are consistent with the practical recommendations in Customs Manager's August article on the transshipment issue. The timing matters because the White House report signals a stronger focus on identifying potential transshipment and tariff evasion patterns. The report discusses the use of data, routing information, and artificial intelligence to identify higher-risk shipments and investigate potential origin issues. For companies, that makes consistency increasingly important. Your supplier information, manufacturing records, commercial documents, and customs declarations should tell the same story. If they do not, the business may have difficulty explaining its origin determination when questioned. The practical takeaway is not that every shipment moving through a third country is a transshipment violation. It is that country of origin decisions need to be supported by the facts of the supply chain. For U.S. importers, now is a useful time to review where products are actually made, what processing takes place in each country, and whether the documentation supports the origin declared to customs. For practical updates on US customs, trade compliance and enforcement developments, subscribe to Ask the Customs Manager.